Welcome to the MRG, episode 3. I have two great guests here with us today. Willie. I've known Willie for quite some time now, Willie Abreu. He's a minor league baseball player right now for which team?
The Colorado Rockies.
The Rockies. Ooh, boy, it's cold over there. And I have my boy Dominique Byrd. We've known each other for a little bit, close to a year now. Played in the NFL for a little bit, and he played for the USC.
The USC.
Not to be mistaken with the other one.
Look, it's only one. Los Angeles, that's it.
LA.
Right on.
So I'm glad that you guys are here. This is actually my favorite episode out of all of them, and we haven't even gotten started. And the reason I say that is because I'm an athlete at heart. You know, I played basketball. I didn't get to the NBA, but I got pretty far, and I'm appreciative of that season of my life. But I always like to get around athletes, guys that have excelled at the highest level, and just to kind of pick their brains and see how you guys operate. So I'm excited for that. And we got the Super Bowl coming in. I know you're going to be glued in on that, man. What are the teams that you're rooting for? I know we're not there yet, but who are you rooting for to be there?
You know, what's crazy is when you play, you don't root for any team. I'm from Minneapolis, so growing up, Vikings fan.
Okay.
But after you play and you kind of see, the politics and the other parts, you kind of just stay away and root for your people. So I got guys on Tennessee.
Okay.
Tannehill?
Because I'm booty hurt, man. You know, I'm a Dolphins fan, bro, and it's like, come on, man, we messed another one up. You know.
Adoree Jackson.
Okay.
Cornerback. So
yeah.
So there, and then it doesn't matter as far as NFC. You know, I'm not. I like Aaron Rodgers, 49ers. They're dope teams. I'd like to see Aaron get another one.
Yeah, man.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, I feel like people don't give that man credit because they're like, oh, you only won one. Dude, he won.
Right.
Like, that's okay.
A lot of people don't win one.
Yeah.
Never.
Dan Marino.
A lot. There you go.
Jesus.
Dang.
One of the best I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That dude can sling it.
But yeah, as far as Super Bowl, I'm not tripping about who gets there, but I think it'll be a dope vibe in Miami just because
it's Miami.
It's Miami.
Yeah.
You know?
J-Lo gonna be up there. Hey. Yeah, man.
J-Lo.
It's gonna. You know what's funny? I was talking with my wife about that because they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be the most Miami Super Bowl," and I'm like, "She ain't from Miami. She's Jenny from the block.
Right.
She's from
New York.
Yeah,
Bronx,
she's from New York."
yeah.
I'm like, they should have had Miami people, but we'll enjoy it.
It's
all
Pitbull.
good.
Pitbull's gonna be in
Right?
there.
I mean,
go.
I think it's Shakira. I think Shakira's
at halftime.
Yeah, well, she's Colombian. She's not even from Miami, but
Okay.
But yeah, it's gonna be like how they always have like random people
Yeah.
come up. They might have like DJ Khaled come on and say,
man.
"Yeah, we the best."
Yeah, absolutely.
But that would have been. You see, I've always wanted to see something like that, like
Yeah.
DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Pitbull. You know,
Imagine they bring back they revive Trina and
Trina, Trick
and
Daddy,
Trick Daddy.
Yeah,
Iceberg.
They're both on. I think they're both on
99 Jams.
No, but the Love and Hip Hop.
Really?
Miami,
Really?
I
Look
think
at
both
that.
of them are. So
I didn't even know that was a Miami one.
yeah, I mean I don't watch it per se,
But you seen a little like a little
yeah,
the trailer.
You know what I'm saying?
You see, that would have been cool though. You see something like that is definitely that's as Miami as it gets.
Yeah.
Right.
That's as Miami as it gets.
That's
right
the
there.
real Miami.
Yeah.
That's the real Miami.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun though.
Yeah, it's
You,
sure.
you got a birthday. Your birthday's during Super Bowl week or
5 days after.
5 days out? So you got like something planned? What you got planned out, man?
I mean, I try to be chill. Being in different parts of clubs and things like
Mhm.
that. I think I see enough of the the nightlife. I
Yeah.
like to. My favorite thing we just talked about a little bit. You know, if I can play basketball on my birthday,
Yeah.
get that. And if we could, you know what?
We might be.
Can we get
let's
a
do-
group in?
Let me tell you something, Willie. This man can hoop.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
because
my first love.
Oh,
My first
oh,
love.
look
this
at
dude. So listen. Whenever I'm that guy that like I judge people when they get to the court. You know the dude that
automatically.
Yeah,
You're looking at the
man,
way he
like-
holds his sneaks, walking into the gym with his
Yeah.
bag and all.
like if they come in like with the Miami Heat jersey and the shorts, you know he's a scrub.
Yeah.
Like if they have the full
He
team
got the
jersey.
D Wade jersey with his old Converse on. You're like, all right, bro, come on,
Come on,
Yeah.
man. But this dude, so I invited him because he's like, hey, I want to go play. I'm like, okay. I mean, for the most part, football players, you know, they like to foul and they get rough, and you're like, I want to play with this dude, man. I'm gonna sprain my ankle. But this man can hoop. so I had him on my team, and we just dominated the other team because one of the guys on the other team played pro ball, like he played overseas, and we murdered them, and they were like in shock. So yeah, he could hoop. He could hoop.
Did you hoop at all, like in high school and stuff like that?
Man, absolutely. So I actually played varsity in 8th grade. I went to a school that was like preschool to 12.
Yeah.
So like I was dunking when I was 13.
Jeez.
So during 8th grade, like tryouts or whatever, you know, you're doing layup lines, and I go in and dunk, and like the varsity coach comes in, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
you coming with us, brother? Forget about this middle school stuff, bro."
So,
what about JV? No, none of that.
So I was very fortunate and blessed to like be able to hoop in high school early. It probably turned me to the high school girls too early too. But, you know what I'm saying?
Trouble.
But yeah, basketball definitely my first love. And when I went to college, I wanted to play both, but we didn't have. I don't know.
So how does that work? Like, did they say, "Oh, your scholarship is only here"? Like, if you play another sport, you know you can't. You're relinquishing the scholarship, or?
Well, it depends on. First of all, it depends on who you have advocating for you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so like I hadn't. You know, when I got into the football thing and, you know, in the recruiting process, and I'm like, yeah, I want to play basketball, but I'm way better. Like, I had a lot more offers at football.
In football, okay.
Because that was just, you know, when my tape went out, that's how it went. I had about 8 D1 offers in basketball, and some schools were like, yeah, you could play, but I think they just wanted to get me on the football team.
Yeah.
You know, you can come on in. It's like a selling point.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost that dream, but I was always playing, like, off season, after practice.
That's it.
You could tell, man. This guy got game, bro.
Even in the league, like it'd be Monday. You know, on Monday you watch film on Monday and you get a light workout. Me and a couple dudes, like when I was playing for the Cardinals, man, me and a couple dudes on Monday nights, like they would know we're in there, and they're like, he was a starting corner, like I was starting. You know what I'm
Straight, we're going to the gym, bro. Let's go.
Gym, like packed gym, Lifetime Fitness, played.
That's a good
thing.
Yeah,
for real, everything. Totally. So
legit.
Yeah.
So what
awesome.
made you, like, what was that transition? Like, okay, I'm gonna give football more of my like priority.
I don't know. I think I just got sold. Like it's when it comes down to the game, as far like Pete Carroll when he came to recruit me, you know, very, very good seller of, you know, his program. You know what I'm saying? And so you kind of get lost in that shuffle. And why I say advocates, while I was talking about who you have advocating for you, is when you're an 18, 17-year-old kid, you don't really know what you want to do. And you don't know exactly how many opportunities that you may or may not have. And how often do you relay those to your parents? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was going from Minneapolis to Los Angeles. I wanted to get as far away
from that cold, man.
Crazy.
Cold. So I just think that not knowing as a young guy, I didn't really get to understand, like, hey, I could really do both, and I can stand on that. So I got pushed towards football just because it was so easy for me. You know what I mean? Like, where other guys were like going to a whole bunch of, you know, I don't know how baseball works, but like the summer camps and like, you know, like, so you can get your rankings up. And I know it's totally different now, but football was just something that like, oh, well, you know, just kick the ball off and let me touch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll make it happen.
That's it.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Would you say it was like a I wouldn't say it's easy because it's tough to make it to the level that you made it, but would you say it was like there was less obstacles?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, at the time, my coach, you know, depending on what kind of coach you have will depend on how much you develop. I didn't have the same development. And when it comes down, when I say easy, it's like instinctually, football came just, you know, like that. My parents played basketball, both of them, and like that's what sports we would go. You know, you can't go shoot, like play football by yourself. You know what I'm saying? I can go shoot at the basketball court like 2-3 hours.
Doesn't matter.
Football, it's like, what I'm gonna do? Throw the ball high in the air and go
just
run
Run around nobody.
myself.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how that, you know.
Okay. So I did a little bit of research on you, right? Because I know we've talked, but we never really talked about like what you did on the field. Right. I just knew you played and all that.
Yeah.
But apparently you're known for these two crazy, and I saw them, these sick one-handed catches,
man.
back in college, man.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
Wait, I got to tell you my nickname first.
Okay. Give it to us.
The one-hand assassin. That's what I.
Wow.
No. Honestly, the two things that I was most known for, like I said, was first of all, is in the fall game. We played Oregon State. It's like 2005, and this is a part of our 38 game win streak at SC. And we had a fall game where the fog just sat down on the field. Now, from the stands, you couldn't see to the other side of the field. You know what I mean?
You couldn't see the other team on the other side, on
Well,
the
from
other sideline.
Now, we could see them because we were on the field, but what it looked like was like, in the when you steam up the shower, the showers, you get your face right.
Yeah.
So you turn it all the way high.
Exfoliate.
Exfoliate. Exactly. So that's what it looked like. And so, somebody always wanted to beat. We were number one for a very long time. So somebody always wanted to beat us. So we went to Oregon State. But I had opportunities to, when we were down, I think we were down 14-0 or 7-0, and they called my number, Norm Chow, which one of the greatest coaches I have. And
it was dope.
I mean, in those moments, it's just reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what you play in baseball, but it's like when you have that opportunity, it's like some guys. Who's gonna make some
it.
Guys are like, oh yeah. Other guys just like,
yeah.
So I always prided myself on like holding down my team when I got those opportunities, because I didn't get as many because we had Reggie Bush, Lindell White, Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith,
crazy,
Mike Williams, Kerry Colbert. Like these
crazy.
Yeah. So
that team was stacked, man. Y'all was stacked, bro.
Year after year.
Yeah.
So I was really blessed with those opportunities, but both of those, I think, in the national championship that was out here.
Yeah. Was that your first time in Miami?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, no. Okay. So we played Iowa my freshman year in the Orange Bowl.
Okay.
And then the Orange Bowl my junior year. Orange Bowl my junior year was, and the Orange Bowl again, or the national championship. So that's when we played Oklahoma, number 1 versus number 2, all the hype, and in that game,
Spalacked.
right? We went down 7-0. They drive down the field and score, and Coach Chow calls my number. He throws me the ball like 2 times in a row, and I was actually tired.
Yeah,
that's the real thing. I was tired in the national. Like, I caught the ball before, so I run like an over route, catch the ball, right? And I was ready. Like, I was like, tap my helmet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had just done a couple blocking plays. He was like, no, stay your fat A in there. So they called the route, and Leinert, it goes down in history, but he throws the ball, and I didn't know if I did put my hand up, I think, but when I went, I was so tired. Like, I just threw my hands up as a touchdown. I was like, one hand or whatever, and I was like, oh. And I'm just like, man, get me off the field, bro.
Let me get a break.
Give me a little oxygen.
Give me that mask. I need water.
Right.
Oh man. So let's fast forward. You came up in Minnesota. You tore it up in 2 sports. You go to one of the, I would say, arguably maybe the top 5 teams of all time. I think, in my opinion, that's one of the top 5 teams of all time in college football history.
For sure.
You get drafted, 3rd round, 06. Was that like, I made it, or do I feel like I have more work to do?
It should have felt like I have more work to do. Being 22 at the time, just coming off of, we had won 2 national championships, played in the 3rd. Of course, everybody knows Vince Young comes down the field and wrecks all of our hearts. And
we won't bring that up too much.
Right. Hey, that's my guy, man. But oh my goodness. So by the time you get to the NFL, there's like an expectation of that at USC, because you've seen the guys that you've been playing with, like, oh, okay, Troy Polamalu, oh, you were a 1st-round pick. Oh, Kenichi Udeze, 1st-round pick. Carson Palmer, you're the number 1 pick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it breeds a culture of, like,
excellence almost.
Absolutely. But also it can breed some expectation, you know what I mean? And so when you're young, what you do with that all comes down to probably who you have around you, your circle, or how much you listen. You know what I mean? And so
totally.
I was actually mad when I got drafted. Like, I felt like I should have been before, but I also knew, like, I had some, character issues.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not that I was a bad person, but I was a young guy. You know? So
we all have our time.
You make your mistakes, and it just by the time I went to get drafted, I felt a certain way because I was 93rd pick. I was like, there's not 92 guys in this draft better than me. But I also was like, man, I could have left my junior year after that national championship.
Yeah.
I would have been straight. So figuring that out and figuring out what I needed to do as a professional didn't come like right away. I definitely had some bumps and some curves and some ditches and
so everything in between.
I'm curious. So were you projected after the junior year to be selected higher? Like what were your people telling you?
And that's the thing, is if you have a very efficient and a very caring and a very like well-rounded staff around the school that alerts you of those things, and some places do. Nobody told me. You know what I'm saying? And I was in the place of living like we had just come off of a national championship. I'm up here, but my mindset wasn't, man, I got to go now. Like there's only Heath Miller and one other guy in my conference at the tight end position.
Wow.
Who both went, I think Heath Miller was 30th in the first round, and the other guy was like 45th pick. In my draft, Vernon Davis runs a 4.38 at 252. You know what I'm saying? Workout.
It's a moving house.
Right. And so there's all these guys. So, and then, my senior year with the character flaw things, and, it's a tough process to get to the place where you're a first rounder, because they're going to scathe all of the things that you've done before. And of course they have to protect their investment. But I feel like, as far as the colleges are concerned, like they just kind of called me like, hey, what are you thinking? And I'm just like, what do you mean? What am I thinking?
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, well, I'm a junior. I got to go through my senior year. And, I have even more yards and more touchdowns. That's what I thought. No.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the cards. Yeah. But I still was really fortunate to be drafted by the St. Louis Rams at the time. And, I took my bumps and my bruises as a young professional very, very early. So
you did go on to – did you play for the Seahawks, I think, right?
Yeah, that was my second to last team.
Was Pete Carroll, was he there already?
He was.
Okay.
He was. I feel a certain way about that Seattle time. Absolutely, absolutely. But I pride myself on being positive, of course, right?
Yeah.
But in the opportunity that I got going back, everybody looks like, oh man, he's had these bumps in the road. It's a lockout year. I come back. I had trained myself for the, for training camp. Go to training camp, take care of all these, all the things that I had to do, like just knocking things off the list, grading out well. This is, just a great time as far as Seattle and, how I'm feeling going into this. And you got your old coach and everybody's like, oh yeah, man, you're reunited with your old coach. Well, one injury to a fullback after the 49ers game, I get cut. They bring in another fullback. That guy doesn't even play while he's on, and then they never call me back.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when we were talking about who I would root for within the Super Bowl, like it's tough when you understand the politics of the way that high level athletics, which is a lot of big business, how these things work and how. How can I cheer for these entities that, really, they're trying to get the most revenue possible, as they should. Yeah. But personally,
it's tough.
Definitely tough. So.
People, there's this misconception. People that are on the outside looking in, and what I mean by that is people that have not gone through the grind of making it play collegiate athletics, playing on the professional level, they just assume, wow, these guys signed this amount of money for the contract, they should be fine. Like, they don't understand that at any point you could be traded, at any point you could be cut. Let's say you just bought a brand new house. A year and a half later, you get traded to another team. What do you it's a process.
Right.
And they're like, oh, but you have all this money. Yeah, but you got to move the kids out to school. You know, maybe you have a business that you opened up and you were comfortable that now you got to probably close that down and move things around. So people don't understand that, how it's very cutthroat. You know, because you were cut not because of your performance, but maybe more so because of the need for the position.
I felt like it was personal.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's probably the first time.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
cool.
feel like it was in some way personal just for, we had a history.
Yeah.
You know, and, but here's one thing that I don't know exactly how each circle works, but the higher level you go, the circles are smaller.
Shit.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if somebody doesn't want you to succeed in a certain way, or they feel like, you know what, I'm either gonna tarnish the name. Like, they have very much so control over the narrative of that circle. So it's like, oh no, this guy's not gonna be good for you. You know what I'm saying? And the circle's small. It's like, if you and your guy, you know, you guys have known each other 16 years. If I was gonna come into the podcast and he was like, hey, look, man, I know that's your guy for a year. You've known him for 16. And he's like, look, man, I got a bad vibe from him. I saw that he did something. I probably wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? Just because the relationship that you've built, you know what I mean? So when it comes to changing futures and things like that, that's where it's like, it's dicey because, you know, as a coach, as a general manager, as somebody with some pull in an organization, you can pull those strings if you want to.
Well, we see that, you know, perfect example, a dude that's going to be in the Hall of Fame in the NBA is Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was out of a job for a year and a half, and he's balling right now.
Right, absolutely.
Balling. And I don't think it's because, his age. I don't think it's because of any other reason. It was that he was blackballed.
That's it.
That's all it was. People assumed he had some character flaws, which I don't know the guy. I don't know if he does or if he doesn't. But at the end of the day, he puts butts in the seats and he helps people win. Yeah, he hasn't won a championship, but that's a Hall of Famer. And we see it now how he's balling in Portland right now, and we see it at the highest level. You know, so that's something that it's unfortunate, but it's part of the business. You know what I mean?
I've even seen it this year a lot with Jimmy Butler in Miami. I mean, for so many years you hear, you know, Jimmy Butler has character issues or this or that. And again, just like you said, I don't know the man. Not that I follow the sport to the T, but you see something like, you don't hear it anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
They're winning and they love the guy.
They're winning and they love it. He seems like he's being himself. He's doing his funny interviews like always and speaking, you know, from his mind. And it is what it is. Maybe just the situation he got put in here in Miami was acceptable to the way he is. You know, not that his way was right or wrong, because there is no proof in the pudding to anybody saying, you should be this way, you should be that way.
Right.
That's just, he was always himself, but now it's acceptable where he's at. You know, it's just put in that right position.
Yeah. Finding a good fit is really important, you know, because sometimes, unless you're like a LeBron James, where you literally, they fit
to you.
They mold, like the whole country or city molds to you. Like Cleveland, Miami, LA, they all molded to this guy.
Period.
We see one of those guys every 25 years for every sport. Like, we don't really see that often. Right. But what we see is that there's a lot of people that are on the other end of that spectrum, where it's like, okay, I need to be in the right fit. I might have to change out of position. You know, maybe like I think you're a right fielder, right? Yep. You know, maybe, who knows? Maybe in the future they're like, okay, we have so and so in right field. The only way Willie's gonna make it is if he goes to left. Right? That's just sometimes the nature of the beast, right? And it's just, these are the things that are intricacies of sports that the outside person that doesn't really follow won't understand. They just see the contract, they think everything is fine, but they don't know the grind and the struggle and all of that. And one thing, now that we're talking about the grind and all that, Willie, you're in the minors right now. Some people think that, you made it, that's it. You just stick it out a few more years and you're gonna make it to the league. Talk about how that journey's going, man.
Man, it's honestly, to me, it's always been a blessing, because I've been thankful for every position I've been put in. I feel like if you work as hard as you think, you take yourself to the limits, God will reward you in beautiful ways and stuff like that. So I've been blessed first and foremost, but it's definitely not easy. It's not no walk in the park, nothing like that. You have to be able to accept adversity. Literally, you have to be able to face it full on. And so many people see it like that, just as a black and white. You get drafted.
Yep.
You're a professional. You made it. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how it is. There's so many stepping stones and so many things you have to come across, living situations. People don't realize I was at the University of Miami for 3 years, living at my house. I'm from Miami, born here, raised here, love it here.
Mm-hmm.
I get drafted by the Colorado Rockies. I get sent on I just got finished playing in the College World Series. We had a private plane to Omaha, Nebraska, played in front of 30,000 fans, get back home, sign a contract, and I'm excited as I can be. I'm a professional athlete.
Yeah.
They don't realize that I get sent on a Spirit flight to Boise, Idaho, in the middle of nowhere, to a stadium in Boise where
tear your ACL on Spirit.
where there's 1,000 people maybe at the game, and it's not, at the University of Miami. I mean, your brother plays there now, which I guess we'll get into a little later, but I literally had too many cleats. Like we were rocking cleats. A practice. Like I'd use it for a practice and then put them in my locker. Use another one for next practice. Games, not even a question. Like if in the middle of the game I thought one cleat wasn't cool enough, I'll put on another and put just so it could be on ESPN in a picture. After the game. And like we're on ESPN every day. This and that. And then I get to Boise, Idaho, and my dad sends me a text. Says, "Hey man, send me your jersey. Send me a picture of your jersey." And I was like, for sure, bro. It's my first professional jersey. I get in there. I say, "Hey, this is the only one we got. I'm not sure if we got pants for it, but this is the one we got. All right, go put it in your locker." So I got a little box. Before I was in Miami with this beautiful locker, name, this and that. I got a little tape on the top like that. Says number 33. They just taped it up right there. And then I go to hang the jersey in my locker so I could send my dad a picture. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's nowhere to hang the lock. Like there's nowhere to actually hang the jersey. They
like not even a hanger?
I mean, they gave it to me on a hanger, but there's a string that you put your jersey on, so it's sideways. But there's nothing to actually like put it on. So I could like a clothes where the clothes hang. Yeah. It's just like a little string like that, and you kind of hang stuff on there. Don't put too much; it'll fall to the ground real quick. Yeah. So and obviously that's sideways, so there was no hook on the outside to like hang my jersey up to send the picture to my pops. He goes, "Where's it at?" I go, "Well, Dad, honestly, man, like I don't even really think you want to see it. Yeah, like it's nothing special, brother. Like I'll show you when I get home or whatever. Like it's not that serious." And it's crazy, man. I get in there in the locker, you don't have anything, man. You're like, "Hey, I'm looking around. Where's my guy with those brand new fresh pair of batting gloves today? Where are those at?" Nowhere. Like so many guys, they don't realize how many rounds there are in baseball. In football there's not as many rounds, but in baseball there's 40 rounds. So 40 guys get drafted.
40 rounds.
In the first, and then exactly. So in the first pick gets $6-7 million, and then it just starts going down from there, and it goes down quick. Yeah. So I mean, I got drafted in the 6th round, but after the 10th round, there's not guys getting a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? They're signing for plane tickets. So they're from a city where there's let's say I was from a big city, so I understood. I was lucky enough to be raised in a place where I knew a lot of professional athletes before me. You know what I'm saying? I grew up wanting to go to the University of Miami. That's where I was going to go. I knew guys that were already there. So we have like a good stepping stone. So we understand the business at a younger age, which I think that helped me a lot. Yeah. But it's crazy that these guys are from these cities where they don't even know what they're doing. They're signing these little contracts and going to play. And in their home city, they get home and, "Oh, yo, you're a professional, man. Yo, let's go get some drinks." Right. They spend a few tabs. Next thing you know, they're broke. Like it's not as glamorous and this and that as people think. So it's a tough thing to overcome. And obviously, you have to learn. You have to learn how to conduct yourself. You have to learn how to be a professional. That's something that I think I really learned in college. Really started buckling down because I was lucky enough to have to go through the process twice. I know in football, you declare for the draft and that's it. Like you declare, if you get drafted, you're in. That's it. That's it. But, in high school, I had to go through the process and it was a slap in the face. I had to learn. I got thrown on my butt and I had to learn to get up. I went to college. I didn't even expect to go to UM really because I thought I was going to sign out of high school. Yeah. And then you get to college and it's a humbling experience. So when the draft came again, I wasn't even paying attention because I didn't have any control over it.
Right.
You know, at first you think you could say I'm a first rounder. You know what I'm saying? I should be drafted, like you said. I'm not the 94th player in this day. Like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy?
Right.
Like, I know damn well that guy's not better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was in high school. That was me watching the draft. I watched every single pick. I was sitting there like this.
Oh man.
They were calling my phone, and they call you and say, "Hey, you're ready to go for this amount of money?" I'm like, "What? No, heck no way. I ain't going for that.
Yeah.
No way." Blah, 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 blah. You're going through that process, and you're a little more arrogant. You know what I'm saying? You're more, and it's not the confidence. It's more a little bit of arrogancy. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what, though? You guys have both mentioned points when you were a little bit younger where you were a little arrogant, right? But that kind of, you need that in a sense to make it to the level that you made it to.
No doubt.
You have to know that you're good. Because if you don't have confidence, like, how are you going to be able to perform at that level?
Yeah.
So I think it's good to a certain extent.
It is. And I think that's where it changed. It changed for me is I never lost that confidence. I just understood what I could control. I never doubted that I was better than somebody else. Or as a matter of fact, you eliminate the competition in general.
Yeah.
Like, there is no competition. The only competition is yourself. And
Facts.
you are training against you.
100%. Yep.
If you're really that confident, then you shouldn't be worried about another team. Like, and I really learned that when I went to UM. Like, we didn't care who anybody else was. Like, we worried about us, and that was it. Like, there was no other school. There was no this. There was no that. Florida State. It didn't matter to us. We were the best. So that's how we walked. We didn't worry about what they were doing. We didn't watch their games. Like, if we're so confident, then what are we worried about? You know, that kind of mentality, and that's where it switched. Is just not being worried about competition, not being worried about what we cannot control. It just wasn't up to us. If the rankings weren't what we liked it, hey, I didn't make that list.
Yeah.
Why I'm worried about the draft? Why? I don't have a pick in the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't have a pick.
Smart.
So what am I going to worry about? What I can control is playing.
Yeah.
What I can control is training as hard as I can, getting onto that field and producing, and that's it. Period. And obviously the end goal is always winning. Like, that was always what the mentality was leaving myself in the back burner and just worried about winning, and that's when the best came out.
And let's talk about the field. That people might not know this, but we went to the same high school. I graduated, I think, 5 or 6 years before you did. You're a legend out there. We have a few legends that came. We got a few legends that have come out of that school. And talk about the process, going into your senior year. Like, what were you thinking? How high did you think you were going to go? Top 10, or I don't know. Talk a little bit about that.
Honestly, so the year before me, you know this name, but Albert Almora, he was the 6th overall pick.
Yeah.
When I was a junior, he was a senior. I transferred into the school as a junior. He was a senior, gets drafted 6th overall. So I was like, man, he's a great player, and I thought I was, just as great. And I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. It's go time. Like, that season just ended. I'm going to play in the summer. We have all our tournaments, stuff like that. I make the USA team again. So I was playing in Taiwan and Korea. I was on top of the world, win another world championship. I was like, I'm going back to high school. It was a walk in the park. I killed the summer, like, where it's really the tough competition.
You hit 500. You were batting 500, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I killed it. Let's go. Let's do this. Pay me. Like, where's the money at? Like, show me the money. I'm looking at cars during class. I'm like, hey, it's go time, man. I ain't worried about the no more, bro. I'm getting paid, bro. Let's go. So, it's the year comes, and then all of a sudden the scouts start coming, and I felt honestly, it's crazy. I don't think I've ever really talked about this, but I was nervous. For the first time in my life, I was nervous, and I felt like I was playing for something that wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? And that's not how I am. I play the game for the team, and I'm very emotional when I play. I have a big spirit, big heart. I play for my teammates, and I felt like that year, my senior year, I took it. I was an individual. I wasn't on a team. I was trying to make it my show, and that was I feel bad because I don't remember a lot of the season because I was so worried about this. I was like, oh, I got to do this so they could see me do this. I wasn't playing for me. I wasn't playing for me at all. I was playing for the scouts, the people coming to the games, and oh man, maybe this scout's not here today. Maybe he doesn't like me. Maybe he doesn't this, doesn't that. And that mentality, again, it was off. It wasn't me. It wasn't genuine. And again, things didn't go the way I thought. I watched the draft and sat there and I remember my mom sitting on my dad after the first day is the first 2 rounds. I thought I was gone. I mean, I talked to a lot of scouts, and even weeks before the draft, it was like, oh yeah, we're going to take you here. We're going to take you there. And places that I was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. That money's good. That sounds good. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, first day goes by, they don't give you a call. My dad's sick about it. He's pissed as can be. He leaves. The next day of the draft is the 3rd round and on, which is, back then I was like, I felt disrespected. I was like, yo, 3rd round? Like, nah, I'm not. Like, that's what? Like, I just saw the first 60 picks I went in the draft. Like, those guys aren't better than me, man. Like, I'm out. I'm going to UM. Like, that's it. Like, I felt disrespected. I felt like, no, that's not cool. All of a sudden, guys start calling, and my mom's she's sitting at the table, and, man, and I thank God every day for this decision. But, somebody calls me in the 5th round, and all of a sudden, they call, and my mom's sitting right next to me. I'm sitting on the couch with a laptop, and they offer me an amount of money that I found, again, disrespectful at that time. Right. And she starts crying, man. My mom starts crying, go like, come on, Willie, like, come on, man. Like, you that's life-changing for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I go, no, Mom, like, it's all right. And I hung up the phone. Mm-hmm. And, man, it scares me because there gets to a point in time that you have to tell your parents, like, yo, no, like, this is what I'm going to do. Mm. And they wanted me to play professional baseball right out of high school. Like, that was the plan. Yeah. The plan was committing to UM and going to play professional baseball. Not going to UM. That was never written for me. Right. So when I had to make that decision, it got a lot of people mad, and and a lot of people in my household, not outside. Outside, everybody was excited. Man, you're going to UM. This is awesome. We didn't even think you were coming. You know what I'm saying? Because that was what was spoken was I was getting drafted. I was gone. Right. I was put. I mean, even during graduation, that was the day of graduation. Is the draft. I'm sitting there. I go to graduation, and I'm sitting there, and hey Willie, don't worry, go to the back because you're probably gonna get called soon. And they had no idea I had already said, like, no, I'm going to UM. Oh, so wow. It was that I was treated in that. Teachers were coming up to me like, hey man, your life's about to change. Really? I'm like, really? Because I'm staying at home for 3 more years at least. Because I'm going to UM. Man, I'm staying at my house. Right. I'm going down the block. Mm-hmm. I just changed locations now, but I'm still sleeping at home. Like, I'm not going nowhere. That's crazy, man. So like that's another thing that people don't understand, that I guess I let the outside noise and the outside pressure get to me, which. What can I control? What other people say? You can. Man. Can I control that? I can't. And I let it. And then that's another thing that I learned when I got to school was, that's it. Yeah, it's go time, man. We want to win a national championship. Period. That's it. We want to bring the U back. The U have been down for a long time in baseball, and it was like, yo, it's go time. Somehow, by the grace of God, 15 guys in our class, all from Miami, all a few guys from other places, but mostly from Miami. None of them get drafted. And for no guys to get drafted, that's crazy. From a class at the University of Miami is unheard of. Like every year they lose big guys. Every year, my buddy Zach Collins, he was the 10th overall pick out of college. He was gonna get more money than I was in high school, and he did get out. And he said no, he went to school too. Wow. So it was like we had a huge recruiting class. We all get there. It's like, wow, we never thought this would happen. Guys even from the years before that were supposed to get drafted. Andy Suarez. David Thompson. David Thompson's a legend here in Miami. Yeah. He went to Westminster. Basketball, football, baseball, all state, all sport. 3 sports. He was a legend here. Beast. And he got to school somehow. And then Andy Suarez, he was supposed to be a first rounder out of high school. The money wasn't right. He goes to school.
Sometimes the scouts get it wrong too, man.
Right. Exactly. All of a sudden, we have a team. We're like, wait, what? These were the guys that weren't supposed to come here. That everybody knew wasn't coming. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we're all here on campus at the same time. It's like, oh, man, this is going to be fun. We got something brewing. And sure enough, man, like just wins started coming after, one after the other. And, I mean, I wouldn't trade that decision for anything in the world.
Let me tell you, man, I saw I think it was your last year was a junior year, right? Yeah. I think it was the game where you had 2 homers. You won one. Yeah. You won the game at the end. I think it was 3. Jim Morris. Yeah. Everybody calls him 3. I think it was Jim Morris's like 1,000th win or something. I'm not
1,500,
1,500
something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
dude, that was my favorite game. How'd that feel, man?
Man, that was still to this day. It's the best feeling. I felt like I was running in air. Like, I mean, I know you talked about your catch and some crazy catches like that, and that's exactly how that felt. Was just, it's an out of body experience. Like, so many fans, that stadium was always packed and stuff like that, and it's so loud. It's the way it's built. It's just so loud. And I remember walking up to the plate, bases are loaded, like legendary stuff. I get goosebumps now thinking about it. Like, these are the things that we play in the backyard thinking about as a kid, scenarios that we talk about, and walk up to the plate, bases loaded, and, tie game
that was dope,
in the 10th inning, 9th inning, 10th inning. And, I didn't hear one fan. I didn't hear nothing. It was
zoned out.
I zoned out. I walked right into the plate, and all I could see is that pitcher, and the ball looked like a watermelon. I don't know what happened. I wish it looked like that every at bat. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, man, he throws it. I swing, and I didn't feel anything till I saw the video of what happened. And it took me a while to watch it, and still to this day, sometimes I'm like, oh man,
that was a dope moment, man.
I can't even believe it, man. I can't believe it. It was unbelievable.
That was the only game I watched that year.
Wow.
And I'm glad that was the game that I watched. It was so cool. And my favorite part was the emotion. You talked earlier about how you play with emotion, and when you lost that, you don't even remember your senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And that was Willie.
Exactly.
That moment right there, I was like, this kid, because I call you kid even though I'm only a few years older, but I was like, man, this kid's gonna make it to the league, man. With that moment right there, I was like, if there was any doubts, like, there you go right there. Because that heart, that when you hit that ball, man, and I was like, whoa, like, I don't get hyped with baseball too much. Right. I actually quit playing baseball when I was 13. But one of the very few moments that I got hyped was in that moment right there. That moment right there. It was really cool.
It's crazy. And and honestly, I think, I'm sure you could relate, but so many people come and tell me the same thing. And I don't think we realize as athletes how much impact we have with such little things. To me, I hit a home run. I went home that night the same way I did every day. I went home, went to sleep, woke up the next day, had to go back to the field. We had another game. Like, it was that was it. It was a game. It was super cool. ESPN, Sports Center, blah, 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 blah. Great. But like, I probably had a paper to do. It was due Monday, and I was trying to find out how to get it done. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't really affect you right there and then. You know what I'm saying? It was cool. It was great. You live that high for a little bit, like all athletes do. It's trying to tame that roller coaster and stay even keel. But the effect it had for years to come, I would have never imagined it. Because I still have people come up to me now and say, bro, that was crazy. Mind you, that was a midseason game. It wasn't. It was against a top opponent. It was against Louisville. But at the end of the day, we could have lost that game and won the next one. It's a series. We played 3 games. So if you win 2 out of 3, you're good. Like, it is what it is. Right. I could have struck out that at bat. The next guy would have hit a ground ball chopper, base hit. The guy scores. We still win. Right. It's not a big deal. But for some reason, that swing,
it was huge,
captivated so many hearts, so many kids, guys that are there now that, they tell me, like, bro, that was crazy. Like, your junior year was nuts. Like, especially that walk-off against Louisville. Like, man, that was a crazy year. I go, man, that was one game. Yeah. And these kids that have had crazy years too, have great players, and they're like, I made an impact on their life from just one swing. Like, who knows what push-up, what sit-up, what extra rep I did, what extra stepping stone I took for that to happen, for God to put that in my path, that made me impact so many lives. And it's a blessing, man. Yeah. It's a blessing.
I'm glad you guys were here with me today, because I think in this society that we live in today, everything is like, and it's unfortunate. You see an athlete, they might make an error or they'll make a penalty, they might miss a shot, and all of a sudden it's like all these memes, and they didn't see the other things that they did that were a success. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the society that we live in. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Yep. And what I love about both of you is that you guys had there was times that you guys didn't necessarily do as good as you wanted to, or weren't as successful in a particular instance as you would have wanted to. But you guys, I think in order to become the men that you are today, you needed to go through that. And I'm glad that, in a way, you went through that.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm sure there were lessons that
Absolutely.
that you guys learned, you know, and you mentioned something that really touched me. You talked about how that moment for you was just another home run,
Yeah.
but you really impacted a lot of people. That's something that I'll never forget.
Mhm.
And I'm not a huge baseball guy. I'm a basketball guy. You know, you can give me anything I can give you stats from 1964. But that moment, I'm never going to forget about that. And I think part of why my brother, because my brother, he wanted to pull a Dominique. He wanted to go to the West Coast. For a while, he was like, oh, I want to go to UCLA. And I'm like, bro,
That would have been
surfer
the worst
dude.
decision of his life. God.
But
It's our rival.
but now he's at the U. He's a freshman. And I'm glad that he chose a program like UM, because there's guys like yourself and other guys that you mentioned that can really give that. People say, oh, the UM, all the swagger and all that, but it's a thing. Like, you don't know about it unless you're here. Like, you just, and I never went to UM. I never played for UM, but it's just something. And you can see it. It doesn't matter what sport. You can play water polo, but if you went to the U, there's something different about you. And I'm glad that guys like yourself can really be a mentor to my brother. And one thing that we're really adamant about is purpose here. We our hashtag is all over social media. Fuel your purpose. And what are those things that you use to fuel your purpose? And I want to ask you guys, and you guys can go however you'd want, but through these lessons that you've learned through sport, what do you guys feel is your purpose through this sport, through this platform that you have of sport? And what have you done? And in Dominique, your case is a little bit different because you're a little bit removed from the game. What have your experiences through that kind of helped you align with your purpose?
I think, well, definitely one thing is that I would say, you spend your life trying to find your purpose, or, like, to align yourself the best with, what God has given you, the opportunities that you've been given, the lessons that you go through. And so that I'd say that first. But sports is just is like a microcosm of other parts of life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It gets magnified now because, everything's on film, there's social media, all these things. But in the same way that, during practice, people don't know that probably the practice field around great teams and around great, like, the teams that you have memorable moments with, the practice field was probably greater than the game days.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance, with myself at USC, and, like, the practice was harder than the game, right? So I say that to say, like, in the same way that, I may have the first time I blocked Kenichi Udeze, who ended up being a 16th pick, I was a freshman. He was 305 pounds. He was 6% body fat.
Wow.
Had gone down from 345.
Solid rock.
Defensive end. I played wide receiver in high school, still at 250, but I wasn't a blocker. So they put me in there to block, and he literally, like, picked me up and walked me 5 yards into the backfield. I mentioned that because Ed Ogeron just won a championship, was the defensive line coach then, and he was also at UM when they won their championships. Wow. So they changed me from a tight end to a defensive end because of how my first camp went. Like, they were like, okay, listen, that experience happened. Troy Polamalu scared the crap out of me coming across the middle. They were like, you're not catching the ball. I don't know if you're blocking. Like, let's try DN. You don't have to block somebody, go after the ball. And I'm just like, my whole world is like, is it over? Like, wait, hold on, wait. I have to, in the same way that in sport, that you have a million examples of this every day in life, you have to get up from whatever it is. Like, whatever the trial or tribulation is, you have to make sure that you keep your mind right. Like you said, being a professional, you having caught it in college probably helped your mental psyche and things like that. But it's just a small microcosm. So to get back to what you were saying, where I find my purpose at this place and how sport helped me is because I feel like my purpose is to give really positive energy, to be a dope vibe to the people that I connect with, because I feel something in everybody else's story. And the experiences that I've been afforded, other people may not have gotten those. But what I do know is that I've been a person who's been at that top percentage or the top tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I've also had to sleep in my car before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so between different situations, I've always known that the regardless of whatever it is, my energy is always pure to the people who
That's good, bro.
receive that. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful.
And I was only able to know that because I knew I had growth to do, because I had a problem with authority, right?
Mm.
So like people who I felt like, coaches, these kinds of things, until you deal with what's inside and step up to the plate of what's inside and understand like, hey, look, like you said, I got to worry about what I can control. If I'm worried about what he's thinking, well, then I'm kind of behind the 8 ball, because where I should be is that my competition is in the mirror.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? If my energy is positive and if I keep what's going on within the mirror in right perspective, everything else is going to fall in line.
Mm-hmm.
I know who God has been in my life. So
Mm-hmm.
my energy comes off very well to everybody when I'm in that place.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody else's thoughts come in, that's when you get he could be a prick, or
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're projecting from what you feel like they see. Well, really all that it is the reflection of what you have in the mirror, and it's like, get right with that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, my purpose, I feel like, and what I found through sport is that the looking of yourself every day in the mirror and how the energy comes back around to you will tell you where you're at with yourself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I magnify that in the thing of, it's okay to be a big, tall, 6'3" dude, and when the great song is on, dance to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I like. That's what I like about you, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I grew up in a neighborhood that had a lot of bad things going on. I went to a great high school, but I had a varied experience, and what I learned is like the human family is really dope if people just step back from like the BS that they learn from other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
100%.
Like, it doesn't matter your color, your creed, how much money you have, none of those things. What matters is like when I leave this room and we've met for the first time today and I've met those guys, like, is it a dope vibe? Like,
Yeah.
is it a positive, uplifting thing, or is it like, dang,
This dude
Thank
sucked
God
the
he's
energy.
gone.
finally, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what so to answer your
Mhm.
question, that's what I feel like my purpose is, because that's always been the most powerful to me.
Yeah.
And the last thing I would say about that is well, you're 30,
About to be, yeah.
okay, and you're
24.
24. I'll be 36. I know I look young. It's
You
cool.
do. I tell
do,
him. All,
like, I was about to say,
I
damn.
tell him all the time.
I was
man.
guessing. I was like,
Yeah, I tell him all the time.
But it's just that the age that you are doesn't necessarily matter, but the growth that you have and that you can relate to other
Yeah.
people's experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course.
My mom was always an advocate of like the people on the, if there was somebody on the street, if they were trying to talk to you, as long as they didn't, touch you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You know what I mean? Don't touch my person,
Yeah.
but we can talk. But to be able to take something from everybody, and I feel like that place of humility, along with, finding your purpose, getting right in the mirror, is something that like I feel like is the most valuable thing that we have,
Yeah.
here in life.
I
So,
agree with you, man. I wholeheartedly agree with you. That's my favorite thing about you, is that no matter what's going on in your life, you always bring that positive energy.
Absolutely.
And one thing I really liked is you posted recently on your social media, you had gone to speak to some youth.
Yeah.
And that really encouraged me, because when I saw that, I saw like, okay, this is what he was meant to do. He was meant to uplift other people. So I'm grateful for you, man, and I'm so excited to see what you're gonna do in this next season.
Appreciate that.
Willie, my
Purpose.
brother, tell me, man.
That's awesome.
Tell us about that.
So, I mean, obviously, I haven't been through the experiences you guys have been, because, I mean, life takes you on a roller coaster in itself. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel that consistency in yourself and in what you do and the way you are, I think that's what helps you get to wherever you want to be in life. So like being very consistent and keeping that same energy all the time. So in my case, I like to speak to kids a lot. I like, your brother. I like to speak to younger kids and younger generations that have dreams, that have aspirations that might be similar to mine. But honestly, in any walk of life, I think that, like you said, sports is very similar to everything else in life. You know what I'm saying? We go through, you get knocked down, you got to get up. You get knocked down, you got to get up. And as I spoke before, my mentality maybe in high school wasn't the same. I thought this or that could have happened. Then it changed in college. But one thing that hasn't changed since the day I started playing baseball was work ethic. Work ethic was always very consistent. My dad taught me at a very young age, don't worry about, this is the goal. That's fine. But it's what you do every day. It's what you wake up and do every day. You break it down into small pieces. Many people say, oh, I'm 7 years old, I want to be in the big leagues tomorrow. That's not how it happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the path was going to be. I just knew the end result was going to be this. And I trusted in, myself and my abilities, but I didn't trust it in enough. So I knew I had to work. And the more I worked, the more I trusted it. The more I worked, the more I trusted, and I builded that foundation. I even, it's funny because that I'm even talking about this because today I literally just sent a video to my girlfriend, and I've seen it 100 times. But Will Smith talks about, laying bricks down.
Yeah.
Like that his dad taught him, hey, forget about building a wall. Just worry about laying one brick perfectly. Right. And it makes so much sense. Like you just lay one brick. The next day you come and lay another brick. The next day you come and lay another brick. Then maybe the next day you build two. Then next thing you know, after a long period of time, you have a perfect wall. You don't have a messed up wall. Oh, and one day I want to do this. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Oh, now you excuse my language, half-assed it. You didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
You didn't do it with proper technique, the proper way. So one of my biggest things that I like to teach kids is it's a long road. And if you're able to go and do it every day, wake up every day and continue to work without the outside noise, forget about what's happening around you, and just put in that work every single day and continue to fight and fight and fight, things are going to end up falling on your lap. And then that's when people start saying, oh man, you got lucky. Like, oh man, you did this. Like, you're lucky. You were always supposed to go play the University of Miami. You were always supposed to, oh man, that was, you got lucky. You hit that ball over the fence, in the ninth inning. And it's like, lucky? Like, what about when I was, in middle school and I was, running after school while all my friends were, out having fun, and I was running and kids were passing by the park, making fun of me. Like my friends were just like, oh, look, you have to train again. Ha ha ha. And I'm in middle school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm training every day. I was waking up early to work out before going to school. Was I lucky then? Or did I just wake up?
Yeah.
God woke me up and I did, I put myself in a position to continue to succeed. And that didn't stop then. And that's the same thing that I do now. And even though my mentality's changed in other parts, other things have, I've learned, I've experienced through growth, obviously through experiences you learn. Yeah. But the work ethic has always been the same. And I continue to do that and continue to fight through that. And I use it in everything. You know what I'm saying? In relationships, if you want a relationship to work, you got to put in the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like anybody could go through the honeymoon phase and it's great. You know what I'm saying? It's great for 2 or 3 days. But you want to have a long-term relationship. You want to be able to be with somebody for a long time. You got to be able to put that work in every day. Right. It's not going to be easy because there was days that I was tired, and there's still days that I'm tired.
Oh yeah.
But I snooze and then I get up.
Yeah.
And I don't just sleep, and so many people don't realize that how effective you can be by just waking up. Just do it. Yeah. Just actually do it. Just actually go and show up to the gym every day. Maybe you don't want to. Maybe it's hurting. Maybe this is or that or whatever the circumstances may be. I'm sure you've seen so many excuses. Like how many excuses do people make up? Oh man, or you as a trainer. Oh my God. Oh this. Oh that.
The cake the cake was there. I had to eat it.
I had to eat it. Well, just it's also simple as just don't eat it.
Yeah.
And then people sometimes take that as like, oh no, but that's it's easy for you to say because you're a professional. Really? Because when I was in college and I had class from 8 a.m. to 12 o'clock in the afternoon, then I had to show up to the field. I still woke up at 5 to drive to school and work out at 6, so I wouldn't have to stay after and I could have more practice time. You know what I'm saying? That still happened. Right. It didn't change. You know what I'm saying? Even though the circumstances were different, I had school. I wasn't a professional. I had no money. I was broke. I didn't know. Like, that's fine. Yeah. But I still did what I had to do. Right. And just putting yourself in that position every single day and building those blocks.
Yeah. No, what's funny is I've heard many and professional athletes say there was guys in my neighborhood or there was guys in my college that were better than me.
Way better.
But they put in the work. They were consistent. They trusted the process. And I listen a lot to Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you guys have ever heard him. He's like a financial guru. But I like what he has to say. And there's one quote that I heard him say, and it stuck with me for my entire life since I heard it. And it's, for you to live like no one else, you have to live like no one else. Basically meaning, if you want to make it to the league, there's some sacrifices that you'll have to do. You might have to wake up at 5 a.m. in middle school and run before class while your friends are still sleeping. Like, there's just certain things you have to give up. Right. Kobe Bryant one time said that after games or after practices, his teammates would go hang out and he would stay in the gym. And he says, I can't afford to hang with them because there's a mission that I'm at. You know, that again, we're talking about the best of the best, but those are the certain things that you have to give up. To live like no one else, you got to live like no one else. And I'm glad that I am in the presence of two guys that are living like no one else. And I appreciate you guys coming on. We definitely have to have you guys back on. Yeah, this was really fun.
For that.
I'm down.
Willie,
I'm down.
love you, brother.
Thank you. Love
Dominique,
you too, brother.
we got to hoop, man.
Yeah,
Let's hoop, bro, for real.
Get it in.
For real.
I need that.
All right, fellas.
All right, brother.